Hi there, welcome to our review of Grid Autosport, which is the third in the Grid series of games. We're testing the PC version, and that allows us to do things like 4K resolution, so we'll do that for the whole video and allow you guys to watch it back in 4K on YouTube. What is Grid? Well, it's the sort of middle of the three different racing games that Codemasters offer. So you have the Dirt series, which is very much arcadey and loads of destruction and just pretty much chaos for a lot of the game modes, especially in Showdown, which is the most recent Dirt game. Then you have the F1 series, which is the more serious racing. So get your F1 car, follow through the season. You know, there's not a lot of room for the kind of over-the-top racing that Dirt offers. And then we have Grid sitting in the middle, so you have a wider range of cars than F1, you have a little bit of the fun from the Dirt series, and it kind of, as I say, sits there in the middle, or that's how I like to see it anyway. So last time we saw Grid, it was the second of the games, and there had been quite a delay between the first and second, so there was a lot of changes in terms of the gameplay and things like that. For the newest game, we have the main game is based around the career, so it's us and a teammate trying to go through for our team, get sponsorship rewards, all the usual things that we would expect in a racing game for a kind of single player campaign. We can send commands to those teammates, and also just as a little kind of change in the game, we've got the return of the in-car view, which you don't always get in games nowadays for racing games. So that was part of the feedback from the racing community that should be in. They've also worked with the pro drivers and experts from Autosport magazine just to get the game up to spec. And so we'll take a look at all the different things just now, but first we'll have a quick look through the menu. So you've got your online options where you're going to be able to do things like Demolition Derby and join clubs, do challenges, have party mode, all that sort of thing. We can go into Custom Cup, which allows us to just basically select what we want. So there's various different disciplines within the game. So you've got the touring car endurance, open wheel, all those sorts of things, various different things that you can set up, such as the party mode first in here as well. And then within those you have different categories of cars as well. Race or time attack, all the different things, and that varies depending on which discipline that you're doing, and you can set the AI for the drivers. When you change between disciplines, the AI is meant to change as well, and you can race across 100 routes over 22 different environments. So you've got things like Barcelona, Paris, Indianapolis, all the different things depending on, of course, what you actually choose to drive. Different cars as well, so we saw in there was things like touring cars, but you also get hot hatches, and you can go as high as the Bugatti Veyron, different things like that you do as you're going through the game. Just one other thing to notice as well is that there is a special edition of the game available, so that's the Black Edition, and that has limited to those people who buy it Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Coupe Black Series, so hence the Black Series Limited Edition. So just take a quick look in the options so that you can see what goes on. So you have your driver details where you can set up everything, statistics, which will be pretty much empty just now for us because this is our first time launching the game. You can set up your RaceNet details, difficulty, so that again will range probably from very easy right the way up to very hard, and as you can see all the different things change as we're going through. So we'll leave it on medium for just now, and then you've just got all the different nonsense that really we don't care about. So in the options we can set controls, so we're using a wheel for this review, so you can change the advanced settings for the wheel. For example, the dead zone, saturation, all those sorts of things. Set every button on your wheel as well, turn on vibration. Gameplay lets us see all the different on-screen units and things like that, so nothing out of the ordinary there. Audio lets us set our levels. Actually, some of them only go down to 50%, which we noticed when we were just setting up the audio before starting this video. And then graphics. So this on the PC version allows us to go right the way up to 4K gaming, full screen. We can change multi-sampling, anti-aliasing, all that sort of stuff. We're leaving it off for just now because just to give us that little bit extra performance. because we're going to be recording gameplay at the same time as playing at 4K. You've got all your different presets, so you've got Ultra, which includes DirectX 11 effects, and then because we're testing this on a laptop, you can change all the power save modes and things like that. So in advanced, various different lighting, particle effects, all those things. As with the last Dirt game, there is also some specific to Intel settings. So you've got advanced blending for Intel, which doesn't work for us because we're using NVIDIA. So that is the main menu for options. You can see there's a split screen option as well, and then we have career. So this is us just launching that for the first time. Let's see what it shows us. Just summing up, the next event's touring cars, category B. It's going to be 2 races, and we're starting at Hockenheim. Okay, so we just skipped forward past the first little test event. Wasn't really much to show there. That was just a case of, have a quick run round the track. In the case of our game, it was Hockenheim. And we're now on the difficulty settings, having set up our player profile, so that allows you to set your name, your nationality, your age, and also set an audio nickname. So it might not have the nickname that you particularly want, but if you've got a common name, then it's going to be in there and it's going to call you by your name when you're playing. For the difficulty settings, we saw them back on the main menu, but they're in here as well at the start of the career mode. And depending on which difficulty you use, the XP that you gain through playing the game changes as well. So you can see over the right hand side it ranges from XP bonus of 46% and then all the way to nothing for very easy. So again, that's medium, and then obviously as you go through, all the different assists and things change depending on what you're doing.
Right now, the grid championships are locked, but making progress across the other disciplines will gain you entry to these prestigious championships. So, make your first choice.
So as you just heard, there are parts of the game that are locked at the beginning, that being the grid series at the end. As we go through the different disciplines, we build our skills up, which is pretty standard for these games, and then at the end it unlocks the more advanced racing. So we'll go for the touring cars just now.
These are your available championships. Committing to the longer season will mean more races, but will also earn you more XP for the chosen discipline.
So it's always handy when your game does your voiceover for you.
Here are your first 2 team offers. Once you have chosen, you are with them for the season. The team target is what you need to achieve to fulfill your contract and bring in better offers season after season. Hit the team bonus for even more XP and more lucrative team offers.
Okay, so that's pretty much how the game hangs together. Well, we've got some 4K footage playing in the background here, and we should probably talk about whether the game is actually any good. And the quick answer to that is yes. There's loads to do, absolutely masses of tracks and cars and combinations of both of them, and obviously a lot of unlocks as well as you go off through the game. Experience tells us that the online aspects will be good as well, so the RaceNet community and the available content through DLCs. Codemasters are always really good at that sort of thing, so we can expect that from this game as well. In the single player game, the AI and team orders aspect of the game for me was more of a distraction than a decent addition. There's enough going on without it, and after the first few times using it, the novelty factor wears off and you just really want to get on with racing without the distraction of having to hit a team order when you've got loads of other things happening, especially if you're playing with a wheel and you're doing everything manually. So you've got a lot going on, and that extra set of button presses, really, it's for a game it's not that useful. I also find myself disagreeing with Codemasters about what corner cutting is, or at least the AI marshals for the game seem to have a very different opinion to me on what's corner cutting and what's not. So I can be flying around the track, think that I'm going to be penalised for corner cutting because I've slightly misjudged it, and then nothing happens and you carry on as normal, and then halfway around the track you'll be thinking you're just clipping the edge of the corner and that everything's going to be fine, and suddenly you're penalised by the game for corner cutting. It doesn't seem to be quite as reliable as I would like it to be, but that's pretty common for games from Codemasters. I tend to find them a little bit erratic on corner cutting. On the plus side, the game's really challenging, and especially when using a wheel it should be quite a challenge, even if you're a seasoned grid gamer or F1 gamer, any of the kind of Codemaster style games. Probably when you're on medium difficulty, it's going to be a challenge for everybody. Anything above that will be really quite difficult for even kind of seasoned hardcore racing game players. So it's going to be a good level of difficulty regardless of your experience with the game, and that's always a good thing. It's always good to be higher up on the difficulty scale when you're making a game than lower down and have it too easy for a bunch of people. Flashbacks, I've never really liked them in racing games. They seem to be more and more common. The option is there not to use them, and I generally don't. Just had to play about with them in this game, and for me it really doesn't add anything. It's very much feels like a cheat to be able to roll back the time and retake a corner just because you messed up. If you messed up, keep racing, try and fix it. That's the way that I would prefer to do it. But as I say, you don't have to do that sort of thing, and for those who really like that feature, you can put on unlimited flashbacks and rewind time as much as you want in a race. It's really up to whatever you want. Also, given that this is the PC version and the game supports 4K resolution and all that sort of thing, I wanted to take some time to cover the graphics side. So Codemasters are a bit of a funny bunch when it comes to tech. The Ego engine, which this game also uses, was cutting edge a number of games ago, if I remember right. It's one of the Dirt games that first used it. And back then it was really pushing technology, so it was using the latest DirectX 11 effects, and you had AMD using it as demos for what their cards could do and all that. Now we could really see Codemasters go ahead and really push the industry now, move to the next gen consoles, upgrade the PC engine, and kind of really go for it in terms of showing what these things can do. But what we've actually got is a game that sticks to the last gen consoles and doesn't really increase the quality of the PC version as much as we would like. There's certainly some really nice visuals in there, and you'll see in the screenshot gallery on our review page on our site that there's some really nice lighting effects going on and all that sort of thing, but you know, it could have been that little bit more. And we said the same about F1, that, you know, that felt like a good time to start moving ahead into the next gen. That was F1 2013, and you know, we're 6 months on from that, maybe even a little bit longer, and you know, it still hasn't evolved as much as we would like. So the plus side to that, if you're maybe a little bit disappointed that this game isn't as advanced as it could be, is that regardless of what graphics card you've got, as long as it's a mainstream-ish type card, you're going to get really great frame rates at 1920 by 1080 with high levels of detail. If you've got an R9 290X or something like that, then you're going to be playing at 4K without any issue. And for our particular setup, we were running on dual GTX 780Ms, and we were able to game at 4K without any issue as well. So, you know, we would hope that there'll be another Dirt game out in the next sort of 6 months or so, and that would be the game that would push kind of the next gen consoles and stuff, because although F1 would be pretty impressive with enhanced graphics, it's not really the showcase that a Dirt game or a grid game is, because you're limited with the tracks and the environments within F1. So it'd be nice to see it with a new engine, but you know, a Dirt game would be a little bit better. Anyway, also worthy of note is the varied feel for each discipline. So when you're moving from race type to race type, you really do feel like you're having a different gaming experience, and the ability to tweak cars adds to that. So you know, you can be going from the touring cars and switch to the open wheels or the hot hatches or anything like that, and it really feels very much like different styles of racing, which is also, you know, it's what you would want from a game with such a varied amount of content. What was my favourite? probably the open wheel, something like the Caparo T1 and a really tight street circuit. That really was a lot of fun to play. I've never been much fan of the touring car aspect of these sort of games, but you know, the street circuits and a really nippy car with good cornering is a lot of fun. So overall, Grid Autosport is another quality addition to the franchise. Codemasters really don't make bad racing games, so you know, you can argue about little directions they've taken here and there in building each of the different games, but overall they're always a lot of fun, and there is masses of content, as we mentioned earlier, in this game. There's a lot for racing game enthusiasts, not quite as much for arcade style gamers, but overall the balance is probably about right, because you have the dirt games for those really arcadey people. So yeah, masses of content, loads of fun, and highly recommend it.